Hello everybody, I am NicoD and this is the Orange Pi 5 Plus in its metal case. So this comes with the RK3588 non-S. So this is about the cheapest RK3588 non-S with all the bells and whistles. So it has got NVMe, so 4 lanes PCIe Gen 3. Then it has got 1 lane PCIe Gen 2 on the E key. It also has got 2 times USB 3 and a USB Type-C that also can do PD. It also has got 2 times HDMI out and 1 time HDMI in, 2 times 2.5 gigabit Ethernet. So it has got everything it can have. This is really an awesome board. So one thing it doesn't have is onboard Wi-Fi or Bluetooth. For that you can use an E key. So I like the case a lot. The maximum temperature is about 73 degrees Celsius. I did replace the thermal pads with copper shims. See my other video about that. So the case is good, but you have to think about it. The board inside is inside of an oven about 70 degrees less. So less than 64 degrees. I've done an experiment. I read that an egg can coagulate at 64 degrees Celsius. So I preheated this with Blender. I was running Blender renders. And then when the sock was about 70 degrees, I put on some egg whites, but it didn't coagulate. So my experiment failed. So the case doesn't get hotter than 64 degrees Celsius is what I think. But the CPU does get up to 73 degrees Celsius, which ain't that bad. It isn't overheating at all. So yeah, I like this board a lot, so I'm gonna open the case for you so you see what's inside. So we are gonna check the specs for this board. I'm gonna show you my Armbian setup. I'm gonna show you how to build your own Armbian images for it. I'm gonna show you some gaming, some desktop setup, some benchmarks, some temperatures, everything you need to know. So here we go! So let's open the case quickly. First take out this SD card. As you see, I am using thermal pastes, a copper shim over here, and like that I'm making contacts. For the RAM chips I have got thermal pads, so that also gets contact. So now put it back together. So here the power button, put that in. No, that's not power button. Here is the power button. This is for here. This power button is pretty annoying, so let's put it back together. So yeah, there's not much to see. You will see it in the specs. So the other way, this way. Let's see, everything lines up. Okay. One tip is, when you're closing, first turn until you hear it snap and then turn in. That way you don't get your screws in wrongly. So turn, hear it, and turn it in. So turn and turn it in. It's a simple tip, but it will save you from a lot of headaches. So It is back together. No idea what that screw for is. So let's boot it up. Hold on, Nico. First let's watch the full specs. So we are gonna go clockwise and we are gonna start at the top left. So with the Type-C power port. So this is only 5 volts, so no PD, 5 volts up to 4 amps. Then we see the dual 2.5 gigabit Ethernet. This is really great to have. 2 times HDMI out, 1 time HDMI in, 2 times USB 2 ports, recovery button, 40 pin expansion header, a speaker connector, the memory 2 gigs, 4 gigs, 8 gigs, 16 gigs or up to 32 gigabytes. Of course the memory chips would be 16 gigabytes then. Then we go to the audio jack, LED, microphone, infrared receiver, power button, 2 time USB 3, USB Type-C with USB 3 and DP. So for a third display, mask ROM button, M.2 mounting nut, the USB 3 hub, PCIe clock, the PMU RK806-1, the M.2 E-key for Wi-Fi and Bluetooth if you want it, eMMC interface, TTL debug UART, real-time clock connector and the SPI flash. So the SoC is the RK3588 with 4 cores A55 at 1.8 GHz and 4 cores A76 up to 2.4 GHz. So that's about a Raspberry Pi 5 plus a Raspberry Pi 4 together. And way better I/O than both. And then on the back we have got the SD card reader. This performs okay, it is 70 megabytes per second reads, that's fine. Then the M.2 mounting hole. Then on the bottom we see the camera connector, LCD connector, so you can connect a fourth display with that. There is the touch interface, the network chips, and then the M.2 M key, so NVMe with PCIe Gen 3, 4 lanes. So you can not only connect an NVMe to that, you can connect a lot of things with an adapter. I for example have a 6x SATA to NVMe. That is great if you want to run a lot of SATA disks. And of course it also has got an eMMC socket for eMMC modules. So they sell them up to 256 gigabytes. I bought one of those and they are great. So here I am on my Armbian image with the Ubuntu desktop. So watch my video on how to make GNOME not suck to see how I set up my desktop. So here is NeoFetch. So I am using Armbian 24.2. So this is my own build. I will show you how to build this later on. So this is the Orange Pi 5 Plus. Kernel 5.10.160. Mainline is almost ready for it, but it isn't just yet. And here is Helix Info-B. So as you can see, I have got the Panfrost driver enabled, so I can play games with this. So one problem with this, or actually two problems. So one problem is that the sound device doesn't save, so every boot I have to select the correct sound device for my HDMI. And the second problem, Chromium doesn't save the credentials. So here we are in YouTube. Let's reject. Let's log in. So here I am logged in. So this all works fine as long as you don't close Chromium. But now let's close Chromium and let's open it again. And let's go to YouTube. And again we are logged out. We have to log in again. So this isn't very fun. There is a fix for it, but it doesn't work fully. So to do this, sudo remove, so sudo rm-r.config/chromium asterisk. So this solves it for a while, but doesn't solve it completely. So for that I am using Vivaldi. So here is Vivaldi. So here is YouTube. And as you see, it is automatically logged in into YouTube. My Facebook automatically logs in into Facebook. So this works great. Vivaldi works well for video playback too. I can watch up to 4K videos even. But one thing that doesn't work is the Belgian TV with DRM content. As you see, there's something wrong. It doesn't work here. So for that I can still use Chromium, but I always have to re-log in. So let me log in. So once I'm logged in, I can watch the Belgian TV.
Daar gaan we dan.
Wilt maken aan de hand van.
Jawel, duf.
So for DRM content on Chromium, you need this package installed. So sudo apt install libredefined cdm. If you do not have that, then DRM content will not work on Chromium. Now let's go to the Armbian website. So let's go to downloads and let's go down to the Orange Pi 5 Plus. Orange Pi 5, yes. So here it is explained how to install the drivers for Jammy. So these are the VPU and GPU drivers. So the PAN4 driver and the VPU drivers. So for the Orange Pi 5 Plus images, we need to go here. And here we have got Armbian Jammy GNOME Amazing Fated Desktop. So this is with all the drivers pre-installed. So with all the GPU drivers and VPU drivers pre-installed, all set up well. The other images are Jammy 6.7, so this is mainline. This isn't great yet, but it is a work in progress. And then the other images are Bookworm with 5.10.160 and Bookworm with the mainline kernel. So there's not that much choice in desktops, but of course you can build your own image and it is quick on an RK3588. So let me show you how to build your own Armbian images. So let's go to Google and type build Armbian, and here we go to this. We do need to remake the documentation, it isn't up to date anymore. But the important part is this. So all we need is having Git installed. So we need an Ubuntu Jammy image. So this is Ubuntu Jammy. With any Ubuntu 2204 it should work. So one thing, I have got unmet dependencies because font liberation isn't installed. This is a dependency for Vivaldi. I had forgotten to install that, so I will show you later on how to install Vivaldi and you will see that this is needed too. So now I can install Git, it is already installed. So now I can download the Armbian build configuration. In the past you could only build Armbian on an x86 machine, but these days you can use your SBC for that. So let's use the Orange Pi 5 Plus to build an image for the Orange Pi 5 Plus. So all you need to do is go into the builds directory, so cd builds, and there /bin/bash./compile.sh. And if you want, you can use expert equals yes for more options. So you will see more desktops and more Ubuntu and Debian versions to build if you use that. But those are not supported, so do not ask for support if something goes wrong with those images. If you want supported, then don't use expert modes. So I'll have to wait a bit. So let's show you how to install Vivaldi while I'm waiting here. So let's go to Google, and here in Google let's type Vivaldi snapshot. And here we have got the latest snapshot. Let's go down, and here we have got Linux deb ARM64. So that's what we need. I already got it. So let's go to my downloads folder, and here it is. So to install it, Let's open this. So we go to our downloads folder, cd downloads, and then sudo dpkg-i for install, and then Vivaldi, the package. Just press enter and it will install everything. And like I've already told you, you will have to install that fonts liberation too. So sudo apt install fonts-liberation. And then you have got Vivaldi installed. And then for Armbian Gaming, we can search Armbian Gaming. Here is my Armbian Gaming repo. So we can download the code, download the zip. Then we just extract the zip file. And let's browse to this folder. So we are already in download, so cd Armbian Gaming. But there's one thing I'm forgetting. There's another folder. So this will not work. So let's go into that folder. Now we can run /bin/bash.armbiangaming.sh. And here we can install box 64, box 86, then wine. Only install one wine version. I am using the x86 wine version. Then you can install wine tricks. Steam doesn't work that well. PPSSPP, Android emulation. RetroPie, this is new. I added RetroPie for Nintendo 64, Master System, PlayStation, for about anything. Then Aether SX for PlayStation 2 and Xonotic. So if you want all that, I've got it all installed and I will show you the games later on that I'm playing. Okay, now we can go further with Armbian build. So here we can choose our board. So let's go to Orange Pi 5 Plus, okay. Legacy or Edge, so mainline, or the old vendor kernel. For now the vendor kernel works the best, so here we can choose between Bookworm, Bullseye, Buster, Focal, Jammy, Kinetic, Lunar, Mantic, Sid and Trixie. But of course only Bookworm, Bullseye and Jammy are supported. You can test any of the others if you want that. I am gonna build for Jammy, so image with a desktop environment. I don't need it, I can install it manually, but well. So here we have got Budgie, Cinnamon, GNOME, i3VM, KDE, Plasma, Mati, XFCE4 and Xmanet. So again, only Cinnamon, GNOME and XFCE4 are supported. I'm gonna choose GNOME, and here I'm not gonna choose 3D support, but all the others I'm gonna install. 3D support is for older boards. Okay, now let's build it. So this will take about 10 minutes to build. So let's go to the end. And it is done. So as I said, 10 minutes 28 seconds. That is quite fast for a desktop image. And that's on an SBC, on an ARM SBC. So to repeat this, we do this. So now let's go to my builds folder. Here it is. Output, images. And here we have got our image. So let's burn this onto an SD card. So let me plug in an SD card. And here let's open GNOME disks. So the first is my eMMC 256 gigabytes. Then we have got the NVMe. And here is my SD card. So let's remove the partition and restore disk image. and browse to my build folder and output images, and let's write that onto my SD card. So with this you will have to install the GPU and VPU drivers manually, as it is mentioned at the download page, and also the lib-redefined CDM for DRM content. I've found that there is a small performance boost with this newer image. It is only 2%, but hey, I will take 2%. And now for gaming. So here I've got my games folder with my favorite games, but I also have got RetroPie over here with thousands of other games. So I have got really tons of games, more than I could ever play in a lifetime. So let me show you some. So here Edgecraft uses box64. So with this edgecraft-bin. So let's open a terminal in this folder. Do box64 edgecraft-bin. And I can play Edgecraft. I love this game. Now another awesome game, so this is also a Linux game. So Colin McRae Rally, so I again use box64 and I do cmr.x86-64. It works best on 720p, not any higher. On 1080p it is a bit laggy, but 720p it runs really well, even on high quality. So here it is.
3, 2, 1, go. 56 left, 36 right, 50 turn 3 right, into 6 right, 30 crest, 73 left. 33 right.
So that runs great. Another Linux game that runs really well is GTA 3. So this is with an app image. So again box64 app run. And this runs great.
You're listening to Head Radio, the rock of Liberty City for 60 years. I'm DJ Mike.
One of my favorite games. This is an old version, Kerbal Space Program. I need to install a later version. I paid for it. This also plays very well. So let's build a rocket and go into space. Another game that works well is TM Nations. You have to put the settings on the lowest, but then it runs well. So here is RetroPie. So all you need to do to open it is type emulation station. And as you see, I've got tons of games. So my favorite Nintendo 64 game is F1 Racing Championship. That's really an awesome game. I can play that for hours. And then of course, for PlayStation, I love Tony Hawk Pro Skater. Then an old Windows game is Viper Racing. I used to play this when it came out and I still play it with as much love. An awesome game, certainly when you have got good controllers. I am using a PS2 controller for this and that works pretty well. So as you see, you can play Windows games, you can play PlayStation portable games, you can play PlayStation games, you can play Nintendo 64, you can play NES, SNES, Master System, Mega Drive, I don't know, so many games that you can play. Of course, for Windows games this isn't perfect. If you want to play Windows games, then buy an x86 SBC or an x86 mini PC. This can play a few Windows games, but not that much. So for gaming it is great for emulation, but it isn't that great for Windows games. That's expected with ARM, of course. I will make a separate video about gaming on the RK3588 because there's so much more I can show you. Like PS2 emulation for example, and so many more games. So I'll subscribe to see that video. So now let's quickly go through the rest of the video because I've already taken up so much time. So the idle temperature is 49 degrees Celsius with this metal case and 73 degrees Celsius maxed out. So the transfer rates. So the onboard SD card reader can do 70 megabytes a second read and 56.9 megabytes a second write. The eMMC 256 gigabytes does 331 megabytes a second read and 274 megabytes a second write. The Western Digital NVMe does 3.2 gigabytes a second read and 1.5 gigabytes a second write. USB 3A data does 392.7 megabytes a second reads and 359 megabytes a second writes. Here are the benchmark results. So the RK3588 is the fastest, and they all are the same. Even the RK3588S performs the same. It only is missing 4 lanes PCIe Gen 3. So I love the Orange Pi 5 Plus a lot. What I truly love is that the HDMI ports are on the back. Also the power is on the back. The Ethernet is on the back. And then you have the USB ports on the front. That is really awesome. And there are enough USB ports. There is 2 times USB 3 on the front and the USB-C, that's USB 3. And on the back there is 2 times USB 2. I love it with the metal case. It is a great metal case. Would be great for me to take it with me on my trips. But it isn't mine. It is from Werner from Armbian. So I'm gonna send it back after this review. I'm gonna make another video about gaming on RK3588. So thank you Werner for sending it to me to review it. Sorry it took so long. So that's gonna be it for today. Thank you all for watching. Please like this video, subscribe to my channel. See you all later. Bye.
3 left. 34 right for crest.